right, the live stream be rolling. It is Memorial Day weekend, and Mayor Douche Blasio has closed the beaches in NYC. But not to worry. Over in New Jersey, Comrade Murphy has blessed his denizens with permission to honor America's fallen with fun, sun, and oiled up buns. Now I'm honoring you. A fresh episode of the Savage Sacktap starts right now.
You're listening to the Savage Sacktap. It's not a podcast, it's not a half-cast, it's just a quick shot to the balls to help you finish off the week. We're cutting through the bullshit, filling your Friday with rage-fueled logic, and cracking a few jokes along the way. So grab a bag of frozen peas. There's a Savage Sacktap coming your way.
Smooth, lascivious, salacious, outrageous.
Greetings, you little fucks. Look at me. I'm down here in the basement. You'll have to apologize. If you're listening to this on the audio version, and maybe even on the live stream, the sound quality is going to be a tad rough. This is a very hard-walled room, and even with my rudimentary understanding of how any of that audio shit works, hard-walled rooms are just atrocious for recording. There's a lot of echo, a lot of shit bouncing around, so I'll try to clean it up a little bit in post, but this might be a little rough as far as audio quality goes. Never mind. I am Mike Montone. This is the Savage Sacktap. It's Memorial Day weekend. I'm down the shore. DTS, as they say. Down the shore, everything is all right. Pulling out to avoid pregnancy on a Saturday night. You know how that old Bruce Springsteen song goes. We'll have more from the shore in a minute, but first I want to address something I saw just the other day. Hashtag New York Tough. I noticed this, of course, while I was drinking tea at the Rock Center skating rink. And seriously, what evokes toughness like the Rockefeller Center skating rink and a nice cup of herbal tea? But of course, the slogan is an homage to the response to the coronavirus, I guess. And they do this for everything, Jersey strong and Boston strong and stronger than the storm. It's one of those stupid, meaningless platitudes that idiots really like. I get that part. And of course, anyone who is regularly exposing themselves to unsafe conditions for the benefit of others, those people are tough. But is New York tough? The answer is I don't think so, right? New York City in particular, upstate, I don't know what the fuck goes on upstate. That's just a weird place. I don't think anyone knows what goes on in upstate New York. Upstate New York and Maine are I think they're the Alabama of the Northeast. They're just kind of a lawless, wild country. No one knows what the fuck's going on out there. Although Lake George is lovely, especially in the summer. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I feel like New York City has become synonymous with sort of effete northeastern pussies, right? The snobbish intelligentsia, and people are always like, "What about 9/11?" And it's like, yeah, we rebuilt, we came back with a new tower, and it was this big fuck you to Al Qaeda. It actually looks kind of like a middle finger, but we're 20 years removed from that. The New York City of 2020 is very much the New York City of BuzzFeed and people who tweet things like hashtag stay the fuck inside, whatever, shut up. This is New York City where people were literally brought to tears because Hillary Clinton lost a presidential election, right? They cried and wailed like banshees. And there's video footage because a wealthy, powerful, well-connected woman lost a popularity contest. That is not tough, all right? Some asshole living in a loft, working from home, ordering Seamless, making TikTok videos, and filming himself cheering every night at 7 p.m. is not tough. And by the way, I'm so happy that the comics are starting to catch on Instagram and shit on these assholes who cheer every night. It is just such a self-indulgent fucking move. You're not cheering for the first responders. You're cheering for yourself, and you're videotaping it to put on the internet as a way to show people, look at me, I'm doing my part. Suck my ass, you fucking jerk-offs. There are not a lot of tough places left in New York City. You can go through the list. It's like the South Bronx, yes, still tough. They will still cut you up outside of a bodega in the South Bronx. East Harlem, tough. You don't fuck with Spanish Harlem. Far Rockaway, bunch of fucking goombas hanging out by the beach carrying lead pipes and beating the shit out of people they don't like in their neighborhood, still tough. Canarsie, still tough. But the overwhelming span of the borough of Manhattan is filled with the kind of pussies who think that the NFL should be banned because of CTE. Just not a tough place. Brooklyn, right? It was once the iconic home to mobsters and gangbangers and drug dealers and every other manner of dangerous ne'er-do-well. It's now filled with pussies whose idea of anal involves a girl with hairy armpits, a strap-on, and a lubed-up male asshole combined with a brutal spanking to atone for the sins of the patriarchy. Not tough. Although I guess if you can stand in and take a big strap-on up the ass, there probably is an element of toughness to that. And if you like it, you're just a fucking psycho. That just looks painful. I had to get a fucking suppository once when I was a kid. It was nightmare stuff. So my advice to children out there is don't get a stomach virus because you won't be able to keep medicine down, and then they got to put it up your butt. Staten Island, home to Italians and meatheads and Albanians and mobsters. Staten Island, in my opinion, is still tough. And speaking of Italian meatheads, I would like to give a tip of the cap to my brethren in Belmar, New Jersey, which Belmar, Bellmawr, not to be confused with Belmar, which is down the shore where the Guidos roam. Belmar with the W is, I believe it's right outside Philadelphia. I think Camden County, maybe. Yeah, so they decided to open their gym despite the Rona. And they did it right. They employed social distancing. Everyone was wearing masks. They were only letting a certain number of people in. Right? This is how it should be. This is how a free society works. The government doesn't come in and shut you down for your own protection. So, of course, the government did show up and fined these wonderful people $2,000 a day, which I don't know if that's better or worse than the financial hit they were taking during the shutdown. But in any case, people are really hurting, and thus they are protesting because of this fucking government overreach that's been going on. And I've never been driven to protest anything. Honestly, it just seems like a lot of work. It's one of the reasons I would say that I can never consider myself a gay ally is because I just can't go to a protest. And don't get me wrong, I'm a friend to the gays, but I feel like if I joined an alliance with them, it would be a bit much, right? You gotta get all riled up on their behalf on social media and angrily tweet at people. You gotta go to a march and carry signs. It's on a fucking Saturday. I don't know why people are always out protesting on a Saturday. That's just a dumb thing to do, right? Sleep in. Take a personal day. You protest midweek. Your boss will never know. Even if he catches footage of the protest, everyone wears they're wearing masks and body armor and idiotic hats. You wind up looking like a completely different person. Bunch of fucking weirdos. But yeah, I mean, you should have plans on a Saturday, right? Even if your plan is to do nothing, that should still be, that's what Saturday is. My plan today is to do nothing. I'm not going to dress like an asshole and go to a fucking rally. Saturday morning hits for me. All I want to do is work out a little bit, get blunted, and hit the beach. Right? I'm not giving up my free time to go march around carrying a fucking tiki torch or dress like an asshole in a pussy hat. You see these guys, they show up at the governor's mansion with AR-15s. It's a Saturday. What are you doing? That's not Saturday stuff. I want to watch college football and eat burgers. I don't need a community college tutor, a fucking English professor hitting me in the face with a bike lock because Rachel Maddow told him to. That's not a good way to spend a Saturday. Remember that one time that guy from that group of protesters, he got into his car and then he ran over a different group of protesters? A nice little Saturday, my ass. I feel like you would much rather go to Home Depot or Bed Bath & Beyond than get run over by some fucking redneck who's all fired up on meth and racism. That doesn't sound like a good way to spend a Saturday at all. But you know who is out there making their voices heard these days? The Karens. Karens are having a fucking renaissance in 2020. And I believe Dane Cook was actually the first one to use the term Karen in a bit. He referred to it, and he doesn't get enough credit for this because at some point it for some reason became cool to not like Dane Cook. I don't know what the fuck that was about, but he's a funny motherfucker, and he had that bit about how every group has a person, usually a kind of cunty chick, who they don't want in their pictures, so they just ask to take the pictures, and that person is Karen. And all of a sudden, it fucking came to dominate social media. Anytime that we've been blessed with a video of a white woman going nuts, she is Karen. And to kind of, if you're not like hip to this, because I know some people don't spend a whole lot of time on Twitter is where the Karens are really taking off, and I guess to a lesser degree Instagram. But Karen is usually kind of a joyless white female, probably between the ages of 33 and 59. Although I did see a breakdown of this where it was like, you know, until like 22 you're Becky, and then you become Karen until your late 30s, and then you become Susan until you're like 60, and then I believe you turn into like Mildred or Gertrude when you get past your early 60s. But Karens love enforcing arbitrary rules. They love to speak to the manager. They say things like, they love the phrase, excuse me, what do you think you're doing? What do you think, excuse me. Very Karen. In some parts of the country, their behavior will certainly carry an air of racism to it, but it's usually, the Karens are usually upper middle class suburban, or in some cases sort of gentrified urban white women. There was, I believe, a few years ago, the corner store Caroline, they called her, was a white woman in Brooklyn. She accused this young black kid of, he was a young, I think he was like third grade. She accused him of goosing her, of grabbing his ass, and they grabbing her ass, and then they looked back at the surveillance footage, and it was clear that like he was facing the other direction and had, I guess, his backpack like accidentally grazed her. So they're very quick to overreact to things. They're usually married to a guy he's in some sort of financial position, or management position, so they're doing well financially. But they'll have a couple friends who landed higher on the social ladder, which leads to a lot of resentment. They wind up developing sort of frumpy bodies over the years because they've just made these middling efforts to get in shape by doing, you know, Zumba once a month, right? There are, of course, white women out there who they work out hard and they're married to savages who keep them well fucked, and they don't have any Karen tendencies because they're getting the endorphins in at the gym, and then they're getting their loads in the bedroom. So these people are happy. They're living good, fulfilled lives. These are not the Karens of the world. When they see those like hot chicks who work out and take care of themselves and have smiles on their faces, the Karens say things like, oh, I could look like one of those models if I didn't have 3 kids to take care of. And she hates her husband and herself and society and her children as a result. And it's very sad. I would argue that if you live in the suburbs or a very sort of a gentrified, sort of like, where's de Blasio? Where's that douchebag look? Is he out in like Red Hook or Park Slope? Very, very Karen-filled areas. I like to think of Hoboken, New Jersey, is sort of a training ground for future Karens. Chicks who will eventually become Karen live in Hoboken during their 20s. They get every last drop of fun out of their system, and then they marry some guy who's like, well, I don't fucking know. I got the job, I got the 401k, buy a house, may as well get myself a wife. And then, you know, he finds some hot chick at a bar or on Bumble or some shit in Hoboken, and he thinks, oh, this is great. This chick's the shit. And then as soon as he gets her knocked up, Karen. It's very sad. Every once in a while, you will see one of these Karens in training just absolutely go off, and it's kind of a delight. I take NJ Transit buses in and out of the city for work, and I saw she couldn't have been older than like 26, 27, throw an absolute Karen fit because the bus we were supposed to leave on was stuck in the Holland Tunnel, and this was somehow the gate attendant's fault. So she was just going ballistic. Apparently, she was a little under the weather and had to go home from work, which, let me tell you something. When Karen gets sick, fucking everyone will know about it. Because Karen, I'm sure she has a perfectly good immune system, but what Karen loves more than anything is fucking attention, right? Karen loves attention. Because no one is paying attention to her, because, as I've said, she's let her body go to shit. She's just a boring, useless, suburban fucking house mom. They contribute very little to society. These days, they're usually spotted going after like lower wage workers at restaurants and grocery stores. They're really, really being riled up by the whole coronavirus thing right now. When I was growing up, the Karens were an absolute menace on the youth sports circuit. I remember one day we had this was the 1990s, so competitive youth roller hockey was really big, and I played in a league. Like, towns were building rinks. My town still has a rink. You see a lot of suburbs in Jersey that have outdoor roller hockey asphalt rinks with like boards and everything. Anyway, there was some snowballs on the ground, and I was using them to practice my wrist shot up against the boards before a game, and I got Karen'd fucking hard. Like, they were like kind of like walking in the vicinity, and some fucking lady's like, "You almost hit my son," which, by the way, the kid was 13, same age as I was at the time, and this lady's like, where are your parents? And she didn't drop an F-bomb on me. She said, "Where are your parents?" And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking 13. Like, I'm old enough to be out by myself, as is your son, by the way, and you're from the fucking visiting team. So what I'm saying is, fuck off, cunt. I feel bad for the kid, right? Because you grow up with that, and you're probably at risk of marrying a Karen of your own. Terrible. My own mother had Karen tendencies of her own, as I'm sure yours did if you grew up in the suburbs. I distinctly remember an incident. I want to say I was probably about a junior in high school. Yeah, I think it was my junior year of high school. I was getting dropped off like across the street from the school. There was like a little drop-off spot. And it must have been a Friday because I believe I had irked my mother in some fashion. And there was a dance that night, or the following night, Friday or Saturday night, who the fuck knows? SATURDAY night. And she rolled down the window as I was waiting for the crossing guard to let me cross, and she sticks her head out and screams, "You can kiss your dance goodbye!" So obviously, I just pretended she was someone else's mother, ignored her, and kept walking. Imagine thinking that the threat of not being able to go to a school dance could possibly rattle a teenage boy. Like, at this point in my life, my weekends were pretty much underage drinking, vandalism, sports, and finger banging. What are you gonna tell me? Like, I think I did go to the dance, and we drove into Patterson to buy a bottle of liquor to drink in the parking lot before going into the dance. So if that's what you're spending your free time doing, the threat, "You can kiss your dance goodbye" from a crazed suburban woman at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning probably isn't going to put a whole lot of scare into a 16-year-old boy. And of course, 10 minutes later, I was inside the school recounting the incident to my friends amid considerable laughter. So sorry, Karen. I mean, Mom. Karens are indeed the anti-fun. And speaking of anti-fun, it is time for my annual reminder to my fellow veterans that Memorial Day weekend is not civilian shaming weekend. And I know we want to honor the fallen, and that is a very important part of the weekend. There are a couple Marines who gave their lives in Ramadi, who actually saved my cousin's life and his entire platoon, really. So Jonathan Yale and Jordan Harder, forever grateful. Just two of the bravest, ballsiest motherfuckers in the world. I've done a couple podcasts where I've talked about those guys. I did a lengthy interview with my cousin about the day that happened. If you go back and check out the episode, it's the Savage Sacktap. No Sane Man is the title. You can find it back. It was November of 2019. We recorded that one. So check it out. It's a very it's a good discussion. My cousin's really is an outstanding Marine, multiple combat deployments, just absolute beast of a dude. And yeah, absolutely, we wanna honor those guys who made that sacrifice. But there's no reason that we should make civilians feel like shit in the process. And I feel like this was more of a problem in past years, and as we get further removed from the high intensity two-theater war that a lot of us served in, it's kind of given us time to like cool our emotions off. You know, guys are taking advantage of the GI Bill and everything like that. They're getting out, starting families. But for a while, there really was this attitude. You'd see a lot of these memes going around, like those, you know, freedom ain't free, fuck your barbecue, you know, kind of memes. It'd be like a fucking M16 shooting a grill. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm a vet. Like I said, I will be paying my respects as they are quite due. But then, once those respects have been paid, it's time to get drunk. You smoke some blunts. You can eat some red meat. You're gonna hang out maybe by a body of water. You're gonna enjoy the fruits of springtime in the United States, because it's what any fallen 19-year-old Lance Corporal would do. If you told a 19-year-old Lance Corporal, and I always think we should conduct ourselves as the Lance Corporals would, because the Lance Corporals are really the greatest human beings on the fucking planet. I cannot think of any better group of people than Marine Corps Lance Corporals. My absolute favorite. Marine Corps Lance Corporals and strippers, probably my two favorite people in the world. And the two go hand in hand. So yeah, I think the way to do it is with the beach, some beers, some blunts, some beef, and some big ass titties. The 5 B's of a summer in New Jersey, which as I started at the top of the episode, that does kick off this weekend. And for the uninitiated, I do want to lay out what a typical shore summer in a non-corona year is like, because I have no idea how things are going. I think a lot of the bars and stuff are going to stay closed, so it might be far less of a drunken fuck fest than it usually is. But in a typical year, if you've watched MTV's Jersey Shore, then you may have an inkling. But I feel like the better representation of the shore summer is actually an old True Life episode, which you can find on YouTube. And I actually I linked to in an article on my website, meatheadmedia.com. Check out the blog page. It's True Life, I Have a Summer Share. And it follows the story of a Guido named Tommy who searches for love and the answer to the question, who ate my fucking cheese balls? Down in, I think they stay in Seaside Park, but they party in Seaside Heights. So if you look at the MTV version of Jersey Shore with Sitch and Paulie and Snooki, I think of that sort of as like a Disney-fied version of life at the Jersey Shore, kind of like Times Square is sort of a cartoonish representation of what New York City is. Like, yeah, I think there's a Buca di Beppo in Times Square, right? That is not authentic New York City Italian, but they dress it up like it's a real Italian restaurant, and you go there and you're a tourist and you're an idiot and you think, this is New York City. But the way a true shore summer works is you find a house, anything located geographically between Belmar to the north and Seaside Park, Wortley Beach. That's going to be your southern end, Lavalette maybe. You're gonna pack it with about a dozen people, and it can be friends, it can be randos, it can be people from Craigslist. Whoever has $2,000 to burn for the summer can buy into the house. And I know you're like, who's got 2 G's to throw? Like, it's actually a great deal because you're getting a house usually from the week before Memorial Day to the week after Labor Day. So you wind up getting like 16 weeks of using the house whenever you feel like it. So you take your vacation days, you can do a chunk, a week at a time down there, you can go down every weekend. It's good. It's actually a great bang for your buck, cheap way to have an awesome summer. then you gather up, you gotta get large amounts of booze, weed, blow, and molly, and you spend the next 14 weekends or so getting tan, getting wasted, and munching rug. I did shore houses from 2011 to 2016, and then in 2017, my ex-girlfriend actually lived like year round in Belmar. So I'm a veteran of 7 hardcore Jersey Shore summers. And I know I said, you find Craigslist people to live in your house, and a lot of people are probably like, why the fuck would you do that? But really, it's like being in your own episode, like The Real World or some shit. Like you make new friends, bunch of fucking weirdos. Everyone has the same interest. Do me a favor and close that door up there.
Yeah, we got a thing going on.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you have a fucking bitch. Make sure that shit's fucking closed.
On a mission.
Yeah, just leave that door open and leave that door up there closed.
Yes, just for
No, that has to stay open. It's fucking hot, and I'm
No, just for
recording.
a sec. It's only going to
What the
take a
fuck are you
second.
doing?
So where should is this good or should I be next to something else?
No, that's good. You
This
got
is
the
good.
mojo on.
So if you're watching on the live stream right now, you can hear some people in the background. 3 losers are taking a photograph of some kind in the room that I'm recording in. You might even be picking this up on the task cam. It's not a very likable group of people. One of them appears to be homeless. He's wearing a very stupid
But
hat.
you said that you appear homeless, which is pretty
He's got a
awkward.
bandana on. It's just very, very confusing as to what's
Why do you
going
always
on
look
right
like
now.
a terrorist in photos?
By the way, I'm not going to edit any of this out in post, so if you are listening to this right now and trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, I would just say fast forward 30, 45 seconds, 3 minutes, whatever. For some reason, they've chosen to take a photograph on like the worst spot to take a picture. There's nothing, that's literally, imagine if you went in front of a sliding glass door and just took a picture. Like, that's the backdrop these dumbasses have chosen to use to take whatever this picture is going to be. They're posing in front of a sliding door. I mean, it is cripplingly stupid. One of them is wearing cargo shorts in the year 2020, which nobody does.
What's that?
Yeah, and it's tucked in without a belt. It's just absolutely disgusting. The best way to describe this man's appearance is unfuckable, is how I would say. He looks like if the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz somehow got property at the Jersey Shore and walked around dressed just like a complete fucking buffoon is what this individual looks like.
Oh, you mean your father?
Yes, him.
Your father.
Yeah.
Whose house you're staying in.
It is, yeah.
Whose booze you're drinking. Whose
No,
food you're
actually,
eating.
a lot of this is false because I spent $80 on meat that you enjoyed for dinner the past couple of nights, and a considerable amount on alcohol. There's more lies from the fake news media. Just absolutely disgusting what these fucking gross liberals do. They twist, they distort. It's just absolutely insane. Just disgusting. In any case, back to shore life. No one ever knows what's going to happen on a given Jersey Shore weekend. You're probably going to see people having sex. I do recall one of my favorite seeing people having sex incidences.
Were you looking in our bedroom this morning with your mother and I?
I do recall seeing someone struggling to get an erection this morning, yeah. Old limp dick Montone strolling through the live stream. But you will see people fucking at the Jersey Shore. I strolled in one evening, returned from the bar, I guess a little too early, and caught my buddy. I don't want to use his actual name because he is on social media, so I'll just refer to him as Tex. And Tex was, what's the move? I believe it would be referred to in the industry as squat racking, which is where, if you've never squat racked a woman before, to be squat racked, a woman will prop her hips up in the air with her shoulders to the ground, and the gentleman will stand above, the MILF Hunter was a big squat racker. He loved to squat rack chicks. I don't find it to be that pleasurable of a position, but you'll stand in between the woman's legs as she has her shoulders to the ground, and he'll push his penis down at a downward angle. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, and that's how you'll achieve penetration. Anyway, my friend Tex was squat racking this chick in the middle of the living room, lights on, completely ass naked except for a pair of very high socks and a backwards baseball cap. And I walk in the door, and he looks at me with this angry scowl, and he's like, "Dude, I'm trying to fuck." And I was like, "Tex, I can see that. I'm gonna go into the other room, I'm gonna smoke a bowl, I'm gonna eat this burrito," which I did. And then moments later, the front door swung open again, and like 3 more bros walked in and caught Tex squat racking this chick. And I believe one of them actually disrobed and tried to join the proceedings, which the young woman was having none of, and the amorous duo eventually made their way out to a bedroom to complete the act. But yeah, I mean, it happens. I was tripping my balls off on some Molly one Sunday afternoon, which you might be thinking, Sunday afternoon? Why would you be doing narcotics on a Sunday afternoon? You have to go to work the next day. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta trip your balls off and go to DJ's on the Sunday Fun Day, which is what me and my friend did. And she got in the mood, I got in the mood. She was grinding on my boner on the dance floor, and we said, you know what? We ought to go back to the house and do some banging. And if you've ever tried to fuck on Molly, you realize that it does kind of get in the way of a super stiff erection. So what you have to do is take the edge off the Molly, and the best way to do that, I have found, is with you drink like half a beer and you smoke a little bit of a blunt, and it just kind of cools things off, which again is, that's what we did. And so the scene that you're about to come upon is a coffee table covered in cigar butts and empty beer cans, a couch that is being fucked on, dim lights, thumping house music, and we're about mid-session, and my friend has to go to the bathroom, so she gets up to go take a piss, leaving me sitting on the couch just stroking so I can maintain that finally hard-earned erection, right? Because you don't want to lose it while the chick's taking a piss, because then you can't throw it back in. So anyway, I'm sitting there listening to house music, stroking, sipping some brew, when all of a sudden the fucking front door swings open, and it's my buddy Rob, and he just looks at me, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because all he sees is me jerking off on the couch listening to house music and gutted cigars all over the place. He didn't realize that there was in fact a female in the bathroom, so I was like, "Yeah, bro, wait on the porch. We will we'll reconvene this conversation in a moment." So I finished up. I walked my friend out, and then I said goodbye to her. And then me and Rob went to the bar, pussy still on my breath, and tried to converse with some ladies. And let me tell you something: you try to talk to a chick with pussy on your breath, they will have none of it. I mean, I did not. There was no cleaning up or shower. It was literally like, rub down your dick, take a piss, throw on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and let's hit the bar. So I just reeked of booze, sweat, and fuck. And we were trying to talk to some ladies on a Sunday night at Leggett's, and it just didn't work. But yeah, banging at the Jersey Shore. These things happen. My sister once walked in on me on a floor mattress with a fat chick. Luckily, both covered by a nice big comforter. She says, "There's Mike, and there is some strange lady." And the strange lady did not appreciate being referred to as a strange lady, to which she replied, "What the fuck do you mean, strange lady?" and berated me and stormed out of the house. And it was my birthday. It was Memorial Day weekend. I believe that might have been 2013, 14 maybe. But yeah, just what a time. If the Jersey Shore, even if you don't see people fucking, you'll probably see genitals in sort of a whimsical fashion. We have a friend. He's come to be known as the Dick Shower. He's just a massive goon with a huge meaty cock, and one of his favorite things to do is to take out said meaty cock and show it to people. And it happened once in the vestibule, the ATM vestibule of a Bank of America. He was actually arrested. He took it out and he presented it to a prostitute, and the prostitute was being tailed by a plainclothes cop because I guess there had been reports that she was hitting on guys in the area, soliciting, I believe is what they call it. So the plainclothes cop got 2 arrests that night, one for prostitution and one for my buddy taking his dick out in a Bank of America. There was an incident when my buddy and I were hanging out on the porch of our shore house, and these 2 guys came by. They were laughing. They said they were going to do some streaking. So we were like, well, we got a bunch of people in here. It would be hilarious if you fellas streaked through our shore house. So we left the front door unlocked and a bit ajar. We walked around back to get a nice position in the kitchen to watch the whole thing go down. And moments later, the front door bursted open, and these 2 wasted bros came sprinting in naked. And the plan was for them to just run through the house naked. Ha ha ha, everyone has a good laugh. But our roommates' girlfriends were sitting on the couch, and these guys thought it would be absolutely hilarious if they jumped up on the couch and jumped up and down with their dongs flapping in the air. And let me tell you something. It was fucking hilarious. There is nothing funnier than the shocked look on your friends' faces when 2 naked dudes are jumping up and down with their ball sacks flapping like bat wings in the middle of your Jersey Shore living room. Absolutely hilarious. My friend Jimmy once did a naked lap in Manasquan wearing nothing but a Santa Claus hat. His testicles jingling like so many bells upon a 1-horse open sleigh. Is it Christmas yet? No, we have a long summer to get through. But a good rule of thumb, I think, is that if you don't see at least one person's genitals every weekend when you're down the shore, you're hanging with the wrong crowd. You got to get new friends. And I realize that genital contact at the shore could be treacherous this summer because of the Rona. And a shore house really is a flop house, right? It's a flop house for, young professionals, people with jobs. It's like an upper middle class version of a crack house, right? There's drugs and booze and pizza boxes and dirty underwear all over the place. It just reeks of fart and BO and used tampons. But you know what? It is a lot of fun. As disgusting as all of that sounds, it is a fucking blast. I would suggest, if you've never done it before and you can't pull off a full summer, it's rough trying to get people sometimes, do an Airbnb with some friends for a weekend in like Belmar or Squan or Seaside, whatever, and give it a shot. I would say the keys to having a good weekend, you're going to want to stay hydrated. You got to bring some dumbbells down because you got to get a pre-beach, pre-club pump because you don't want to look like a weak bitch at the Jersey Shore, right? The Jersey Shore is not a place for weak ass bitches. The Jersey Shore is a place for people who go to the gym, they like to get tan, and they like to do laundry. All right, and weak bitches don't do any of that shit. What else? But yeah, party and get after it. The Shore fucking rules. It's just suntans and substance abuse. Have a good time, guys. I wanted to go over some news stories, but we are going a tad long as it is, so I think I'm just going to focus on what is really a relatively inconsequential blip from the Tampa, forget the name, it was like the Tampa Bay Times or something, like the Times of Tampa. Who the fuck knows? It's a Tampa Bay newspaper. Probably no one really reads it, but Tampa actually looks like a great town. It looks like one of those towns where some guy at a bar will ask you to come over and fuck his large-breasted blonde wife because years of cocaine and sun exposure have left his penis withered and useless. But anyway, this newspaper sent out a text alert that said, "Look, a fucking title." And if you're unfamiliar with how these alerts work, so if you get a text alert on your phone, like a breaking news alert, that was sent by someone working in the digital team of a newsroom somewhere. So I used to work for 1010 Wins and CBS New York. I had to send out their text alerts. And they'll have different fields where, the title field and then the body of the text and what have you, and there'll be a spot to insert a hyperlink. And usually it'll have those weird rules, like, when you fill out a form online, you have to have everything filled out while you're putting it together, otherwise it won't work. So I'm guessing that this person, and I want to make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but yeah, I'm guessing that this person was just filling it out and just was frustrated and annoyed and unintentionally, they wrote, "Oh look, a fucking title," and they were like, "Oh, I'll get back to it later," or they were like testing it out or something, and they were just in a foul fucking mood. And because let me tell you something, there is nothing worse than working in digital media in the news industry. I mean, the news industry is just filled with assholes of every variety. There's some very good, intelligent people working in the industry, but it is, I would say, a 75% just full of fucking jerk-offs. It is self-indulgence. Like, I don't agree with everything that Trump does. I don't support every one of his policies, but his little back and forth with guys like Acosta and shit, I crave that stuff. Because I worked in the news industry for close to a decade, and I cannot tell you how fucking just terrible it is. So if you don't want to be there, I totally see how you could put the phrase, "Look, a fucking title," into your text alert and then send it out to your thousands of subscribers. I'm sure whoever did that was immediately relieved of their position, but I want to shake their hand. I mean, I really do. Whoever it is just deserves a big hug and a handshake. I want you to know that things will get better. You're not going to have to spend. You've been liberated. If you are fired from the news industry, you should consider it a liberation. You have been set free to go do anything else with your life. Do it. Go flap your fucking wings and go. You want to work in media, but you don't want to work at the Tampa Times? Go start your own fucking newspaper. Do you think the Tampa Times is even going to exist soon? Probably not. Newspapers are folding left and right. They can suck your fucking balls. Oh, look, a fucking title. Yeah, good for you. Good for you, anonymous news person. That is it. I'm going to wrap up. It is Memorial Day weekend. I do have some drinking to do. I have some other work to get to before that. But yeah, happy Memorial Day. Enjoy. I always say enjoy Memorial Day for the people who are not able to be here, and enjoy Memorial Day. Enjoy Memorial Day for the people who made Memorial Day possible. So yeah, that's that. Facebook.com/The Savage Crew is where you can find this live stream. Twitter @Mike Montone. Instagram @Gary_Moyler, MOYLER. And of course the podcast lives at thesavagecrew.libsyn.com. And you guys have a great Memorial Day. I will catch you on the flippo side out.